have just run a not Kickstarter to fund a brand new website and a whole extra release for this year. And today I'm going to tell you all about it. Hello and welcome. My name is Lizzie. I am the owner, proprietor, graphic designer, administrator, and who knows what else for the Thistle and Bard, a fantasy gift stationery and apparel, or clothing as we like to call it, here in Norfolk, I suppose. I don't think I've ever mentioned that before, but yes, that's where we are. Like I said, my name is Lizzie. So a few things before we kick off. I have a bit of a nervous tick, which means that I will go a lot. And there's not a lot I can do about it. Trust me, I've tried. This basically means that I have two options. I could have tried to edit them all out, or I could just leave them in. And the truth be told, if I'd edited all of them out, you would have ended up with something that sounded very robotic and probably wouldn't have sounded a lot like me. So all I ask instead is that don't put any comments or anything down in the comments box below about it. There really is nothing that I can do about it. I really have tried. So yeah, thank you very much. And that's that little bit out of the way. Also, whilst you're at it, now would be a good time if you've just joined us. Hello, welcome, come in. We're all very nice here. I welcome you to my magical world. This is a great time for you to maybe go and check out some of our socials. Don't worry, I'll wait. You can go and find us over at Facebook, where we're Thistle and Bard. You can find us on Instagram, we're @thistleandbard_arts. You can find us on Pinterest. Pinterest is Thistle and Bard again, and over on Threads, which is also Thistle and Bard Arts. We are considering TikTok, but given that everything that is going at the moment, that may or may not happen, because there may or may not be any point. So we'll see how things go. Every day's a new adventure, as they say. So yeah, go ahead. Please go and like, share, subscribe, do all the things. And don't forget that if you are on YouTube, which I'm assuming you are because you're watching this, unless it's been embedded elsewhere, in which case kudos to that person. And thank you very much. If you are watching this on YouTube, don't forget to kind of quickly pause, look below. You'll see the little subscribe button. You'll see the little bell button. Now, a lot of people will hit that subscribe button, but then they won't hit the notification, that little bell button. And that little bell button is super important because without ticking it, YouTube doesn't actually tell you whether or not someone's actually posted anything. It doesn't matter how many times you subscribe to someone. It still won't tell you. That is just the nature and the weirdness and the wonderfulness of social media. If you don't hit notification buttons, you don't get told. It's up to you to go and find out when new stuff has been posted. We don't want you missing out or anything now, do we? So take that moment, pause this video, go ahead and do all the things. Come on back, I'll wait. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. And we'll get into talking about the thing that has been going on in Thistle and Bard, well, for the last 2 months. So, what am I talking about? I am talking about Project Wonderkin. Project Wonderkin started in December. And it was basically I suppose, a Kickstarter. Now, a lot of people know what Kickstarter is. It's a very famous page. It's a very famous company that allows you to crowdfund cool projects. Anything from books to films, to anime series, to different RPG games and everything else. It is all that kind of thing. It allows you to crowdfund all of those things, and you can do that by setting a goal of how much it takes for you to physically be able to make the project, and then putting in some what they call stretch goals, which are goals that you can do if you are goals that you can collect, I think is the best way to put it. Effectively, if you reach those goals, you unlock what's in them, or if collectively everyone reaches those goals, not you specifically. I mean, maybe you specifically. Possibly. If the stretch goals get reached, you get some cool stuff. Anyway, that is basically that is basically how a Kickstarter works. Now, what is a not Kickstarter? Well, a not Kickstarter works very, very, very similarly. Instead of basically doing an official Kickstarter, going onto that page, you do it centrally. So Thistle and Bard did it through our own webpage. I will say our a lot, and it is a one-person band. It is just me. Who knows what the future will hold? But you do it through your own website. In my case, that will be thistleandbard.com. I suggest you go and check it out. Here's a QR code for you. Go and do that. Anyway, we go and do it through our own page, and effectively it works the same way, except that rather than being the money being held by an external company like BackerKit or Kickstarter or anything like that, which generally incurs some form of cost. It's not usually a huge amount, but it does incur some form of cost. They effectively take a cut for using their website, for using their fulfillment process, etc. It usually incurs some form of cost. Now, why didn't I use an official way like a Kickstarter or anything like that, like going on the official Kickstarter page to do what I'm doing? Well, firstly, there is that cost. And secondly, I am not a mathematician. In fact, I actually really struggle with maths, like an awful lot of people do. I passed all of my qualifications and things at school, but to be perfectly honest, it is still not my strong suit. And I have I suppose, a potent fear that if I used this, I would somehow probably work out what that percentage was wrong and end up potentially falling short. And even though it looked like the project had been fulfilled, still not being able to fulfill it. And that is not a good thing. Now, the good news is with a Kickstarter that there is actually, and a lot of people who use Kickstarter and who support things on Kickstarter don't really understand this, I think. There is actually nothing on there. Even if a project gets fulfilled, the goals are reached, there is nothing to make that business, that company, fulfill on that project. They can just return your money to you and go, well, unfortunately, there were unforeseen consequences, there were unforeseen issues with the project, and we're just not going to be able to fulfill it. So here's your money, and we can't really do anything about it. And there are a lot of projects who, once they've raised the money, you end up finding out that, a price rise takes place, or a war happens that stops you from being able to import things, or all sorts of other stuff, or tariffs. And then you basically end up with things being a lot more expensive, or taking that much longer, which incurs a bit of a delay. That's fairly common on Kickstarter. May have supported numerous Kickstarters, and that's pretty much how it works as someone who uses Kickstarter. Not someone who's used Kickstarter for their business, or to create a project. But that's generally how it works. And all of those things, I'm a very nervous person, even though I might not seem it. I'm a very nervous person. And all of those things kind of make me feel very nervous internally. So I decided to do it myself. And I have actually run two what I went invisible there. Two what I would call not Kickstarters. So as I've mentioned, a not Kickstarter is exactly what it says on the tin. It is not on Kickstarter, but it fundamentally works the same. How do I run one? Well, like I said, I've actually run two. The first one I did in 2023, sort of around the April time. where I launched a not Kickstarter for what was lovingly termed the Little Dragon Project. And it was by far, I think it made that year the most successful year I've ever had in business at Thistle and Bud. It was fantastic. It truly was. We didn't do one in 2024, and I'm sort of, well, we did, but kind of towards the end. It didn't finish now until 2025. And I'm sort of gutted that I didn't, because I think my year would have been a lot better if I had. But anyway, ignoring all of that, basically, it was my most successful project. What it did was it had a basic goal. And the fundamental goal was to create some little dragon stickers. Dragons to do with, we had flower dragons, we had book dragons, but most importantly, and I think the one that everyone kind of really was sold on, was we had coffee dragons. So we had all of these things. And basically, I ran this not Kickstarter to fund a series of stickers that I could make for these cool illustrations. And we did it. And I very, very quickly raised the money to be able to include them as an additional release for that year. I very quickly raised that money to get the stickers. And as we were approaching the benchmark for that funding, I realized, I was like, well, there's an awful lot more. If people are interested in this, there's an awful lot more I can do with this. There's loads of things. We could have sticker sheets. We could have notepads. We could have pins. And I think I sort of, in my mind, thought about that and realized, no, surely, like, no one's going to want it enough to get pins, right? Like, I'm not big enough for that yet. Boy, was I to be proven wrong. So I'm not big enough for that yet. So consequently, that's what happened. I put up a series of goals. Now, I didn't put them up, like, people didn't donate stuff. People didn't donate money. I could have done that. And in fact, I incorporated that later on. But at the time, it was purely based on how much I make generally, on average, profit-wise, from the items that I currently had in store. And this is where working out your Kickstarter, or your not Kickstarter, I should say, working out your not Kickstarter really comes into how that you do it. So fundamentally, the first thing that you have to work out is how much the average customer spends inside your shop. That's really easy to do. Take an average month. So not Christmas, not Halloween, which tend to be the two big sales periods of the year. Take an average month. Look at how much a customer average spends in your store. And you do that by, you take all the customers, add them all together, and then you derive the average from that. Okay, what is the mean average? Best way I can explain that, it's really hard for me to explain maths to people, but averages is one of the things I can do. So basically, you add them all together, divide it by the number of instances that you have, so the number of customers, and then that will kind of give you an average of how much a customer spends. Because some customers will spend more. My hand keeps disappearing. Some customers will spend more, and some customers will spend less. So once you've done that, you know how much person makes, and then now you need to kind of get an average about how much average profit you do. Now, a lot of small businesses, they do that already. So whatever their amount is, they put 10%, 15% on top of that. okay, in order to sell their products. Some businesses even put 50%, and big businesses like the one that I used to work for way like before I ended up being here and doing this. Big businesses can put like 150% on top of that because they're ordering things in such volume that they get such a massive discount. But anyway, so know how much that is. So from that, you can figure out what is the 15% of that average. And once you know what that is, you can do that on a calculator or just whack it into Google. It's super easy. You can get computers to do that for you. Once you've worked that out, you now know the generalized amount of money that you get from each person that comes into your store on average. You also know how much your release is going to cost because you've looked into that already. You know that making pins will cost, it's going to cost, there's an initial outset cost for an acrylic pin of £45. So how many people how many orders do I need? Like with that average profit, how many orders do I need in order to make that amount? And that's how you work it out. Because Kickstarter is not based upon whether or not you how much someone physically donates or pledges to the cause. It's done by orders. So basically what happens is you set up a pledge infographic that showcases how many orders people need to make in order for us to reach particular goals. So here is the one that is for the Wonderkin project, or Project Wonderkin. I keep calling it Wonderkin Project, and it's not. It's Project Wonderkin. More dragons, more unicorns, more magic. It's everything good. And it's for our 5th birthday celebration. So with that in mind, here is the infographic for it. Now, as you can see, there is a series. You can get some locked chests, so you can't see what's in them. It's kind of a surprise. Every time you reach that point, you'll find that it's will showcase. The chest effectively opens and showcases what you're trying to get to. And as you can see, I've worked it out. So there was initially, there'll be like 10 to 8 to 12 order gaps between each of the different pledges. The first one is always the biggest because it's kind of trying to reach the initial thing that you want to do. And then everything else is kind of like, and if we make this much more, we can do this, and this much more, we can do that, and this much more, we can do the other thing, all the way up to the top. Now, the next bit, obviously, is there is a lot of marketing involved, which I'm not really going to go into a huge amount. It effectively requires you to be actively talking about it. You need to go out onto your social media that you are using and talk about it. The day that it launched, I did a live talking all about it. It was a very successful live. I did it on Instagram. I sent out invites. I put a note in my stories saying it was going to happen. I waited the day before. I waited for that. I waited for 12 or 15 hours to pass. Then I looked on the statistics of that. I looked at the number of people who had viewed it or liked it. And I believe I put in kind of like a little heart slider that allowed people to say whether or not they liked this idea or not. And anyone who kind of hit the like slider, I sent a personal message inviting them and reminding them that the live was going to go ahead so that they could turn on their Instagrams. And then because they were receiving the notification, they were already there. Consequently, I had a really successful live. It was really fun. And I told people all about how amazing Project Wonderkin is. And let's talk about that. Project Wonderkin is amazing because it is our 5th birthday celebration and we are gonna go big on it because the likelihood of a business the size of mine reaching its 5 years is tiny. It's true that when you go onto YouTube, because it's an echo chamber, effectively YouTube will, if you put into YouTube that you want to see successful businesses, that is what YouTube will give you. And if you continue to like and watch for 5 minutes or more businesses that are doing very well because they've been around for 10, for 8-10 years, which is a small number of them, YouTube will continue to show you more and more and more of those things instead of showing you all the ones where the business is struggling or the business is going through a bit of a hard time at the moment, which I can tell you, it doesn't matter whether you're a successful business that's been around for like the last 8 years and you are, you are capable of hiring staff to the people who are doing it by themselves for the first time and they've been open for like 6 months and they're working from their bedroom, which I did. It doesn't matter which one of those spectrums you are, there are always hard times. What a hard time looks like, however, is speculative. It's a little bit different for each one. Do that. But yeah, anyway, that is how you run a not Kickstarter. This went on for a little bit longer than I was expecting it to by just a smidge, but that is how you run a not Kickstarter. It works very similarly, and if you are considering wanting to do something like this, you've got a website maybe, or maybe you've got a Ko-fi or something like that, and you want to run a crowdfunding campaign without needing to use Kickstarter, if you don't want to, I want to stress there is nothing wrong with using Kickstarter. It's a fantastic place to go and crowdfund and has a great sitting community there. And there's loads of help available to you on Kickstarter as well. It's just that for me, I'm not very good at maths, and the best way to do this is to use the math that I do know how to do in order to make those, in order to do that. And it allows me to take more time over it, which I possibly should have said. I ran the Project Wonderkin for 2 months. And I think usually Kickstarter only runs for 1. So you can take a little bit more time over it as well. It's a great thing to do if you don't want to try Kickstarter yet. You've got a bigger project that you're thinking about that's kind of percolating inside your head, but you are not quite ready yet or brave enough yet to go and tackle it. Maybe the number seems very large to you. You just want to do something really small, and you just want to see if currently you've got the ability to do it. Have you got the number of customers and things that you want to do it without having to go through and get things kind of approved by another company or anything like that? That is what a not Kickstarter is. It's great for that. I really enjoy running them. Fluff in the air. I really enjoy running them. I have had a great time talking to you about them today. I hope that none of that was very confusing. If you have any questions for today, feel free to pop them down in the comments below. I will try my best to get back to you in a timely manner. If it's not for a little bit, I apologize. I'll do my best. Any comments and things are always welcome, just not about the ums and ahs. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope that you enjoyed this somewhat more informative video here on Thistle and Bard. Next time we'll go and we'll do something a little bit more hands-on and creative here. But I wanted to take you through just how Wonderkin and Project Wonderkin, and indeed the Baby Dragon project actually work, so that if you're at a place in your business where you want to do something similar, this is another option as opposed to the other ones that are out there. This gives you another possibility, another different thing that you can do if you want to. It works for me. I won't say it will work for everyone because it won't. Nothing ever does. But until then, I will see you in the next video. Bye! Bright like a diamond in the glam. Every move I make, they know my name. In the center of the stage, I claim my fame.